All right. How's it going, everyone? I am ND Sean 45.
I'm Irish Benjamin 57.
And together we make up the two Irish brothers. Yes, we have no viewers right now. The little eyeball symbol says 0, but I'm sure there will be people coming. I posted this link on a couple of Facebook pages, on Twitter, so you know people are going to be here. But yeah, Ben, just to give you a heads up, if you see me looking to my left, your right on the screen, it is because I have the Bears and Saints on. Of course, you know I am a big Bears fan. So I'm going to be paying close attention to that, even though I'm not, getting my hopes up.
Yeah. You always got to support your team, so I understand.
Oh, of course. You have to. What kind of like we said with Notre Dame, what kind of fan would we be if we didn't support our teams all the way? Because if you don't give them a chance to win, then don't watch it.
Right.
But wish people would start showing up. But of course, they're probably watching the game too, so can't say that I blame them. Oh, we got one person. But anyway, so Ben, you and I called this. This is the first of our, not the first live stream we've ever done, but it is the first of a weekly live stream that we will be doing.
Yep.
And I called this live stream the Jack Coan edition, but there's all sorts of big ass news to talk about here.
Yes, lots of big news all around.
But we'll start. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, just in general. I mean, it's been an incredible whirlwind of a week for Notre Dame country and the sports world in general. So, yeah, it's been a heck of a week for news for sure.
But of course, we'll start with the big news because you've seen the comments on here and Twitter. Everybody's wanting our reaction to the Jack Coan transfer to Notre Dame news, and it's funny that happened because before Jack Coan made that decision, you and I were talking off camera, and I asked you the question if you thought that Notre Dame might take a quarterback out of the transfer portal if they saw one that they liked, if that quarterback wanted to come here, and neither one of us were really too sure about that, kind of up in the air.
Yeah, I think a lot of stuff is kind of the game's evolving. It used to be we didn't see a lot of transfer quarterbacks. It just didn't happen as much, and now it seems like there's always a couple big namers that transfer somewhere else every year, for better or for worse. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see how everything works out, but I'm kind of wanting some more people on before I start really digging in deep into this. But
well, shoot, we can just chat about various other things. How's work been going?
Say again.
I said, how's work been going for you?
It's been good. We're about to be back in person starting tomorrow. So the final push this past week to get everything kind of back in order, if you will. So can't really complain there. Those the kids, job security, give us job security, I should say. So
yeah, tell me a kid that's not messy. That you gotta clean up after and all that, and set up things for and whatnot. But yeah, I'm doing all right too. Nothing really new to speak of. I pretty much just have that daily routine that hardly ever changes.
Yeah. But sometimes change is not a good thing. So
yeah, that's true. Those things like change and routine, and it's like they're both the same thing. Sometimes they can be good, sometimes they can be bad. Hey, how's it going, old Grim? Yeah, that's cool if you're just listening, man. That's no problem. We just like to get a few more people in here before we, like Ben said, before we start going to town on talking about all the news.
It's hot topic.
Carnivore, what's up, man? Welcome. But yeah, we got 3 people watching right now, at least according to that. But sometimes that's not always accurate because sometimes there can be more people here than what that little eyeball symbol actually says. Craig, how you doing? But anyway, we got Dwayne. Welcome aboard, man. Nice to have you here.
Hi. There you go.
All right. Oh, you show 7, huh? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I guess I forget there can be a delay too between you guys and us.
Let's dig into it. So yeah, so the grad transfer, one of the big namers, Jack Coan, to Notre Dame. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, the crazy part is seeing the news. Yes, so am I, Craig. So if you see my head turning to your right on the screen, that's me watching the game and keeping up with the Bears. So surprisingly, they're doing pretty well so far, keeping that Saints offense in check. And Manti Te'o, he's making his season debut in this game. Got called up from the Bears practice squad. He's actually having a pretty nice game. So, and of course, it looks like the Bears are going to be making another mental mistake and giving the Saints a first down on a 4th and 4. Let me see this real quick. Oh, never mind. It's a false start. So New Orleans gets backed up 5. But anyway, getting back to Jack Coan and getting back to focus on our first of a weekly live stream that Ben and I will be doing. Can't say that enough. I mean, hey, promotion's promotion. Can you guys blame us?
Right.
Yeah, we're looking. Yeah, like you guys, I'm sure heard in the video that we made talking about this. Every Sunday around 5 o'clock Central Time, pending changes in our personal schedules and whatnot, we'll be doing a weekly live stream. So anyway, back to Jack Coan. So that was the crazy part, is that news broke like literally a day or so after you and I had this discussion about Notre Dame possibly looking for an experienced quarterback in the transfer portal. And maybe this is a little too premature, but Jack Coan could easily be our starting quarterback opening night against Florida State.
Oh yeah, I mean, there were people talking and saying, well, what if Ian Book stays for another season due to that rule this year that they get an extra year of eligibility? And I'm like, there is no way that Jack would be coming to Notre Dame if Ian Book was going to stay. That they told him that, yeah, Ian Book's going to declare for the draft. We've already talked about it. It hasn't happened yet. All that. And, that's that. So, yeah, no, I totally think that Jack will be the starting quarterback coming, into the Florida State game.
And in particular, I think what it's going to come down to, it's going to come down to the quarterback battle will be between Jack Coan and Drew Pine. Because everybody, and Craig, I'm glad you mentioned it. Yes, I agree. He will be a nice bridge to Tyler Buchner. I agree with you. But that's the thing, Ben. You and I were talking about this as well involving Tyler Buchner. Nothing against the kid. This is not bad-mouthing him. But this past year, in the state of California, they didn't play any fall sports. So Buchner did not play any football this past season. And as we all know, the collegiate level requires a big time. All right. Well, that last user just brought some trouble on himself. I'll tell you that much.
I can't even see it. My screen's all messed up.
Oh, you can't see the comments?
I saw your name. Did it get blocked? Did you block it?
I did.
Okay. I couldn't tell.
Well, if we're going to have those kind of people showing up, I can tell you one thing, whether it's the man himself or just his viewers, they just got their cult leader in some big trouble. So,
but anyway, yeah. So, yeah, back to what you were saying with Buchner, I'm on the same page. Okay. People need to understand this kid hasn't played in a season and a half at this point. And you know, you're going to give him his first collegiate start in hostile territory in Tallahassee when everything could most likely be back to normal and that place is going to be absolutely nuts.
No, you're not going to do that because
I mean,
here's the thing with that. That's the main thing is we're not saying that this kid's not talented. Of course Buckner's talented, but he's raw, not having played at all his senior year of high school, and you can't just throw him to the dogs like that. That's just a recipe for disaster.
Right. Well, I mean, you can do that kind of stuff in the NFL, you know, because you can make games up. You can, you know, your season isn't decided in 1 or 2 games in the NFL. In college, you basically got to go undefeated. I mean, if you want to have any shot at a playoff berth. So you can't like go, oh, okay, well, we'll probably lose this game to Florida State since we're putting Buckner in it, but it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. That's not how that's going to go. So, yeah, I hope that he comes in, and I hope he does phenomenal, and I hope he challenges Coan and
who do we got?
Oh,
we got a special guest.
But you know, I'm with you. I don't see Buckner being able to come in and make an impact immediately.
No, and by the way, this is my cat Rutherford. He was a part of that litter that I did a video about when my other cat had kittens. He's one of her babies. Say hi, buddy. Can you say hi? Yeah, he's wanting some attention, and he wants to get attention at the wrong time. But I love you, bud. All right, but I got to do a show now, so you go play. But yeah, so I'll tell you one thing too is with this situation with the quarterbacks and Jack Coan coming in, I would not put it past the situation of either Buckner or Drew Pine transferring.
I mean,
what's your thoughts on that?
I don't think that will happen. I think Coan's a senior, so he'll be a senior. So I mean, he has 1 season left, and this is his season. So he's looking to get a playoff berth with Notre Dame, which I mean, if you want to be on the same level, and that's what we stress in all our videos, if you want to be on the same level as Alabama and Clemson, then it's title or bust, and Coan knows that. So he's like, okay, we're going for it. So, I mean, and then he'll leave, and then it'll be either Pine or Buckner. Now, if Buckner beats out Pine, then I could see Pine transferring.
Well, it's just my main reason for that is because that with a lot of young guys who come into these big programs, they want to play as soon as possible, and basically once they get that 1 year red shirt, they're not too patient after that. They want to start seeing action on the field.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and also looking at Jack Coan from highlight reels and putting up numbers, this is a guy that can get it done.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, he kind of was thrust into the fire, if you will, because after Wisconsin had that, mega game that they did, their quarterback ended up getting injured. So, it was time for him to step up and be the next guy up. And he did good. I mean, and just kind of looking at the little things that he does, I'm impressed. And clearly Notre Dame's impressed if they're going to let him transfer, so.
Well, and also, yeah, exactly. And also I know that, when you look at highlight reels on different players, I know, and as strange as this is going to sound, highlight reels don't always tell the full story, hence the term highlight reel, because you're only going to show highlights. You're not going to show mistakes. But I really liked what I saw with Jack Coan. He looks like a quarterback that has a pretty nice arm, very calm in the pocket, doesn't have happy feet. So I think he can do pretty well for us. But of course, we're a long ways away from spring ball, and but the good news is it looks like Coan is healthy and he's ready to go, because he did sustain I think it was an ACL injury that he suffered at Wisconsin, but even with that, before the injury, he'd had some success. He led the Badgers to an appearance in the Rose Bowl. They end up losing to who was it? Oregon, that they played that year in the Rose Bowl, lost by a point.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and so he's been on the big stage. He knows what to do in those situations, and I think he can be a big boost for us, because the main thing out of all this is we need some experience at the quarterback position with Ian Book leaving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, this is a situation where, neither of these guys behind Ian Book, which will be, Buckner and Pine, have very much experience. It's almost like baptism by fire situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then Jack, he does have experience. I mean, you play in the Big Ten, you're playing against, big name teams. I mean, it's different. So, yeah, but like you said, it's a ways off, and maybe he gets beaten out in camp. I don't know.
Oh, and I didn't realize it was his foot, Grim. I was sure it was an ACL injury, but thanks for the correction. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the quarterback spot at Notre Dame, and but regardless, we got the experience that we needed with Ian Book leaving, and that was big for us. And I know there's plenty in the Notre Dame fan base that aren't happy about that, but then again, what is our fan base happy about these days? All they do is complain. But the thing is, some people have said that they don't like this because he can't do any Coan, that is, he can't do anything with his legs. That's not true. I've seen plenty of clips where he's able to run the ball. He's not just strictly pocket. He can run his way out of trouble if he has to.
Yeah, I mean, people always find something to complain about. So,
yeah. But the next big piece of news, and it's like we were saying at the start of the show, it seems like this past week, less than that actually, has just been full of just constant news. So let's talk about the recent one. The recent big news for Notre Dame, the hiring of defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman. We were able to pick him off from the Cincinnati Bearcats, and I'm not going to pretend that I've always known who this guy was, but this past season alone at Cincinnati, his body of work speaks for itself. He did a great job with that Bearcats team. They had a nice showing in the Peach Bowl against the Georgia Bulldogs. And I can't lie to you, Ben, when it was announced that Clark Lee was, going to be leaving for the head coaching job at Vandy, that was the $1 million question that me and our friend and colleague George Bashura talked about, is what are they going to do to replace Clark Lee? And George was sure of this, and even I was partially sure of it too, that Brian Kelly was going to stick in-house and promote somebody from his own staff, to that position. And I remember George's reason was because if you bring in somebody from the outside, that's a new system that you have to learn, and it just creates a mess. It slows it down, changes the rhythm, and is this a time where you need to make an adjustment? That can hurt a team too. Because Mike Elko and Clark Lee back to back, they've done a pretty good job with this defense. And
yeah,
but at the same time, going outside isn't always a bad thing either. I mean,
no, it can be a blessing, because then you get a little bit of a breath of fresh air, and you got somebody that quote unquote won't be in a way like intimidated by the head coach at Notre Dame. Because these guys come in and they want to be yes men, and sometimes it shouldn't always be a yes man. So you know, like you said, his body at work at Cincinnati shows a lot. And losing Clark Lee, I was very concerned. Like, is our defense going to take a step back now? And, if the offense can't really get going in games, will we be able to survive games like we have with that solid defense? And now that you have Freeman's to me on the same level as Clark Lee, so the defense shouldn't take a step back.
Well, and this is not a knock on Cincinnati. I'm not taking anything away what they were able to do this past season, but obviously, big difference between Cincinnati and Notre Dame. I mean, you look at the American Conference, and a world of difference between that and, well, even though I think we are going back to independence for this upcoming season, we'll just stick with the ACC for now and address it that way. But world of difference between the American and the ACC. So
there's a world of difference with Notre Dame's schedule as an independent and the American Conference. I mean, now that we have that kind of like quote unquote deal with the ACC, where they play 6 or 7 games in the ACC. So there's that. Those are all Power 5 games. And then if you play Southern Cal and Stanford, that's 2 more. So that's 9 games that you're playing now.
And I know it looks like with the schedule, they're trying to get at least one SEC team on there.
So, and then
this is supposed to be Arkansas this year.
Yeah. And then this upcoming season, we have Wisconsin. So there's another Power 5 school. So you're at 10 Power 5 games, and then let's say that we play.
Well, Navy's in there too, of course.
I think, okay, well, we play Navy. So then Navy's not a Power 5. So what, there's like one game on the schedule, maybe 2 that aren't Power 5 teams.
Yeah.
I mean, that's way different than, a group of 5. No offense to them.
Well, and also with Cincinnati, and this is not a knock on them. This is just how it is. You're not going to see Cincinnati in the top 10 for recruiting classes. They don't get the top guys in the country. Maybe at one position they'll get one, but you're not gonna expect them to get like 6 or 7 5-star guys or a bunch of 4-stars either. They're usually mostly 3 and 4-star guys. And I would say 3 stars the majority for their recruiting classes, without looking.
Right, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people, and not that you don't, you're different, but some people look at like 3 stars and be like, okay, whatever. Okay, those are guys that have the potential to evolve up to the 5-star, mentality. I mean, look at Chris Fink, for crying out loud. Okay, he was a walk-on. I mean, now, when he left Notre Dame, he was a 5-star. I'm sorry. I mean, he was. So for Freeman coached those guys up to the level that they got to be a top defense in the country. And that's impressive. So if he can do that with 2, 3, and 4 stars, what can he do with 3, 4, and 5 stars?
That's my point exactly. When you have, athletes that are, top in the country, think of what he could do with that, and make them better. Holy cow. A lot of potential for that to happen.
Right.
But of course, it's easy to talk about all day long. You have to see it happen on the field first.
Yep.
Because the
level of excitement's there, because we were concerned, as I said.
Yeah.
Everybody was concerned. Okay, who's Notre Dame going to get? Because there's a chance we take a step back depending on who we get. Nope.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you're going to go outside, out of house, then you better get the best. And I think it's safe to say Brian Kelly did that. You either go top notch or you go home. You don't get, some no-name guy who's not ready.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of talks Brian Kelly has with Cincinnati, since that was the school that he coached before Notre Dame.
They're on the schedule for next season.
Right, but I'm saying like
That's interesting. I can't wait to see that.
like when all this happened, like they hire Freeman and all that. I wonder how much like Brian Kelly has contact wise with Cincinnati since, like I said, he coached there before he came to Notre Dame.
I'm sure he still talks plenty with people at Cincinnati, no question.
It's when I'm like, oh, it's Freeman from Cincinnati. I wonder who was the catalyst for that.
Yeah, because I'm not sure if I don't think Freeman was even there when Kelly was there. I don't think he was ever on his staff. So that was, what? Let's see, that was 11 years ago, so I would assume not. But yeah. Anyway, so I think that's the one bit of news that our fan base is completely happy about with no conditions.
Yeah.
But of course, moving on with other news, we had a lot of guys enter the transfer portal. And personally, I mean, hang on one sec. My cat wants to get out. It's too bad. He was being a good boy. Now, and now he wants to get out all of a sudden. But we had a lot of guys enter the transfer portal. And let's see, Jafar Armstrong, Jameer Smith, Isaiah Rutherford, defensive back, Houston Griffith. I guess he could play either safety or corner. I think he was playing mostly. I think he was playing mostly corner this year. I think Houston Griffith.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what. Yeah. I think you're right on that.
And then we had an offensive lineman transfer out. Let me see if I can bring this out and find out who all did transfer.
Then I think Jack Lamb.
Yeah, Jack Lamb. I think Jack Lamb is the newest one.
But I mean, every year there's people that transfer out. I think people are taking it a little further and to a more bigger extreme than normal. But at the end of the day, Notre Dame still has a very, very solid team. And I mean, if you want to build a dynasty, you got to be able to just rotate guys in. I mean, you got to be able to quote unquote reload.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll tell you one thing though, even though it sucks seeing some of these guys leave, the good part about that is that says a lot about how Brian Kelly's been recruiting, because obviously, these guys got beat out and, you'd like to keep them just for the depth alone. But of course, it's their decision.
They want to play.
Yeah. And if there's somebody, it's just common sense. If there's somebody ahead of you that's better, then your time on the field is going to be very limited. So nobody can really blame them. I mean, I like Jafar Armstrong, but let's face it, Kieran Williams and Chris Tyree, they were tearing it up.
Yep.
So you knew there weren't going to be a lot of carries for Jafar going down the stretch. It's just how it goes. Yep. And we've got a nice recruiting class coming in, so that depth will be there. It'll build itself back up.
Yep. Yeah.
And Dwayne Roll Tide Roll says Notre Dame needs a quarterback with a big arm that can throw the deep ball. Book did some nice things, but didn't have that big arm play. Yeah, we agree with you, Dwayne. We agree. His deep ball, even though he's had some good throws, it wasn't consistent out of Ian Book.
Right.
And I'd like to think that Jack Coan could be a step up from that for a season. And speaking of Coan, I guess it was only 1 year, because I thought we were going to have him for 2 years.
I don't know. I mean, somebody was saying the new transfer rule. I don't know what that is. So maybe he does have 2 years, but he is technically a senior. So this will be his senior season. So I don't know. Let me transfer.
Well, let's just say it is for sure only 1 year. We've got to make the best of it with him. And as it was mentioned earlier with who mentioned it about a bridge between him and Buckner? Yeah,
Okay.
it was Craig. Yeah, Craig, you made the comment about the bridge from Jack Coan to Tyler Buckner. That's what we need right now. We need the experience, and it's just as much as I think Drew Pine has a lot of potential. Buckner has a lot of potential too. One, Drew Pine has only had like what 5 minutes of playing time all season, something like that.
Yeah.
And then Buckner, he hasn't played, and assuming they put the red shirt on him, he hasn't played. He's probably won't have by the time he steps foot on the field. He probably won't have played in 2 years, unless they give him some playing time with the new red shirt rule where you can play a true freshman in 4 games and he won't lose a year of eligibility.
Yeah, so he would have 1 year. It's not like you get an extra year with the rule. So,
Old Grimm says that Jack Coan can do a 5th year.
okay.
So we could this is a quarterback we could potentially have for 2 years.
For 2 seasons, yeah. So the rule is that you can transfer and be able to compete immediately. So it's not like you have to get a waiver, kind of like what Djokovic had to do when he went to Boston College, and they had to like quote unquote approve it for him to be able to start and actually play in a game. So that aspect, yeah. So I don't know. I could go back and forth on it. Like he says, it could hurt college football. I don't know. I think it'll make college football a lot more competitive in a way.
Welcome to the stream, Roy boy.
If you get a guy that's kind of waiting in the shadows for somebody to, get hurt or transfer out or whatever, kind of like a Cardell Jones situation, and then they go and transfer like King did for Miami and then actually start making a name for yourself immediately, and so did Djokovic, I think it can make college football a lot more competitive because you could have someone like Djokovic go to a Boston College that most likely would have never landed Djokovic in the first place and have them be an actual competitive football team with someone like him. So,
yeah. Well, and when I see Craig said the same thing that you just did, or were you reading his comment about transfer rule going to hurt college football?
That's what I was reading. I read it.
Okay. Yeah, and the thing is too, Craig. I mean, yeah, I see your side of it, but at the same time, it could help us too because we can pick up guys that maybe we had our eye on when we were initially recruiting them, and then we could get a chance to see them in our system. So I don't know. I mean, all I can say is it's just if you have guys that are so far on the depth chart at one school, they want to play, and I can't say that I really blame them because that's why they agreed to come to said college because they want to play, and if they're not getting it, then they're going to try to find a place somewhere else. And honestly, to be honest with you, I hated that rule about having to sit out a year when you transfer. Because I forget who it was. I think it might have been who was it? Someone on. I hate referencing anybody from ESPN, but there was a former quarterback. Maybe it was Jesse Palmer. I don't know. But there was this quarterback who was on ESPN once, and they were talking about the same thing. And he said, "I hate this rule for one reason. Well, not just one reason, but say if the school that I was playing at, I forget who it was." But say we got a new coach and he ran a triple option offense, and then I decide to transfer out. Well, I'm screwed because I have to sit out for a year, and all because the coach that came in runs a new offense that I've never ran before.
Right.
So he's got a point, and yeah, in that case, I can't blame him because if it's a system that you're not made for, why would you want to stay and play in it?
Right.
So. But yeah, the second half is underway for Chicago and New Orleans, and Bears have the ball, and looks like they have a nice drive going on, but there's a flag. I'm not sure what it's for. And believe me, Ben, I'm trying so hard to concentrate on both here, but when it's your team playing in the playoffs, it's it's hard to keep the focus on just one place.
I don't see any more questions. No.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask.
Well, okay, well, let's address the big thing tomorrow. Notre Dame, Alabama, and Ohio State play for the national title tomorrow. So
I'd love to see Alabama win it.
So it'll be interesting. That offenses that can score at will right there. So I can only imagine what the score is going to be.
Real quick, Dwayne Roll Tide Roll says triple option won't win these days. Well, look at Army. Look at Army. They went 9-2 this year, and they played West Virginia very tough in the Liberty Bowl?
Yeah, I think it was the Liberty Bowl. Yeah,
because they were originally scheduled for the Independence Bowl. Let me see what the score of that game was. Yeah, it was 24-21 West Virginia in the Liberty Bowl. So Army played them tough, and that's the thing. When you have an offense that eats up 8-9 minutes of clock, and you're getting 4 yards of play,
right?
That's gonna
becomes a pain in the butt.
Yes, look at all the years we played Navy and the tough battles they've given us with that offense.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. But speaking of tomorrow night, since you brought up Ohio State, I got to say this. There's been some people, that we've talked to, like from Twitter and all that. They haven't liked me speaking out against our fan base and talking about, calling out our fan base for being so, the quote unquote realistic ones.
Right.
They didn't like it when I did that, and of course I got some flack for that. Not you so much, but look at what what's his name? The quarterback from Ohio State. I feel like an idiot.
Fields? Is that right?
Justin Fields. Yes, I hate it when I draw a damn blank. I hate that. But Justin Fields. This is what I'm glad to see. Justin Fields, as much as I want Ohio State to lose tomorrow night, Justin Fields called out his own fan base and wasn't afraid to do it.
Yeah.
When he said he made a tweet saying, "Hey, to everybody in our fan base," and this is not an exact quote, but this to everybody in our fan base, this is for all the true fans. Those of you who said we don't deserve to be here, it's not for you. You guys can F off. So if he's not afraid to call out his own fan base, I'm not afraid to call out ours. And granted, we are on a much, much smaller stage than Justin Fields is.
Right.
But it's just, I'm just basing it on principle alone.
Right.
And our fans were shit when it came to the postseason. Well, I'm going to stick by that.
With that loss to Alabama, it's like, okay, are you happy? Like, you got what you said was going to happen. Are you happy? Like, that's the way I look at it. Like, but you know that if we had won that game, that they would have been the first ones to be like, Notre Dame's awesome. We can't believe we won the game. We're amazing. You know that they would have been those people in the streets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, those kind of fans I have no respect for. The best example I've given, many times already is Randy Quaid's character from Major League 2, when he's all so happy in the beginning that they signed, that big home run hitter Jack Parkman. But then once the Indians start losing in that movie, he's like, "You're a bunch of bums, all of you. So what? They'll blow it in the playoffs. They will. They'll blow it in the playoffs." But then once Ricky Vaughn comes back and they start tearing it up and start winning and win the pennant to go to the World Series. Oh, he was there all along. That true fan, Right. That's what I saw. That's what I saw with a lot of our fan base in this one. Right. But they just say, "Oh, we're just being realistic. We're realistic. That's what it is. We're realistic." No, realistic is just another term for that you're a shit fan and you love your team with conditions. I mean, heaven forbid you treat your own children that way.
Right.
Because I remember that's the thing when we won in the Camping World Pineapple Bowl. There it is, people. There it is. But when we won that game against Iowa State, and we won it pretty convincingly. I remember seeing a guy from our fan base who was pissed off because we only got 350 yards of total offense instead of 500, and we only scored 33 points instead of 50. And I told this guy, I'm like, geez, dude, you sound like the guy who would take the belt to your kid because he got an A instead of an A+.
Right.
Yeah, and that pissed him off a new one.
Yeah.
But I just can't stand those kind of fans. It's annoying. It's just go cheer for a new team if you're not going to support your team all the way.
I never hear the end of it in the two of the fan bases that I'm a part of, with the Dolphins and the Fighting Irish. Dolphin fans are the exact same way. Like the newest one right now is that Deshaun Watson is wanting out of Houston, and he requested to be traded apparently to the Dolphins.
I saw this article too today.
And it's like Dolphin fans are like, yeah, we should get rid of Tua. We should pick up Deshaun Watson. He's the better quarterback. And it's like, what? Like, are you kidding? Like, we just got Tua. We just spent a huge draft pick. Like, you're going to pick up the biggest salaries in professional football with Watson? Like, come on, man.
He's been with you a year. You got to give him a little bit more of a chance than one season.
Well, and it's happening in Miami, they're changing offensive coordinators again. So, I mean, Jan Gailey's out. So now that's a new offensive coordinator is going to bring in a new system. Tua and even Fitzpatrick, who's started most of the games, is going to have to learn a new system. So, I mean, and you're a Bears fan base. You see it. I mean, I see it because I got 90% of my friends are Bears fans. So I see the fights that they get into with other Bears fans and stuff. And it's like, those people ain't never happy.
No. Well, and see, the thing is, I get angry with the Bears too, being a Bears fan, but I don't stop cheering for them. I'm not going to stop supporting them just because they, do bad. And which like they're doing right now, because it looks like the Saints are on the move, and of course here we start with the not being able to tackle again. And if they can hold them to a field goal here, that'd be a huge ass win.
But yeah, it's okay to be constructive and criticize your team, sure, but when you're automatically thinking that they're going to lose a game, then you got problems, So, because I went on a rant years ago, but I think this was like before you even knew me, Sean.
Probably, yeah.
I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, do you want me to admit Notre Dame sucks? Do you want me to admit that, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say that they're going to lose a game. Like, it's just not going to happen.
And like we've said a bunch of times before, we don't need to say it. If we lose a game badly, we don't need to say it because it speaks for itself on the field.
Right.
But we're not. But still, like I said, we're not going to just quit on our fans or quit on our team and become, realists, or as Dwayne describes them, the bandwagon fans. No, we're not going to do that. Are we going to tell the truth and give constructive criticism, like you said? Absolutely, we are. But we're not just going to go and say that our team has no chance to win, that we don't stand a chance, or that we don't have a prayer. No, we're not going to do that. Really, because if we did that, what would be the reason for watching games or following the team? None. And also, since we were talking about the national title game tomorrow night, I gotta ask you this, Ben, because I've seen a few comments where people have brought this up. Not necessarily on here, but I've seen it all over the place on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. And there's people saying that, okay, the final score was 31-14. As much as it sucks, I'm not saying that it's not a bad loss, but it's a much better showing than it was back in 2013. And we have a lot of Alabama fans or just Notre Dame haters in general saying that, it was because Alabama took the foot off the gas. So, for lack of a better term, showing us mercy. Do you think they actually did that? Or do you think it could actually be because oh, I don't know, our defense made adjustments.
Yeah, I think that's just people looking for an excuse,
Yeah.
as always. Because if you don't like a blue blood program, because I've said it many times, you either like Notre Dame or hate them, like Alabama or hate them, like Southern Cal or hate them, like Oklahoma or hate them, like Ohio State or hate them, like Michigan or hate them. Blue blood programs. Okay. Then people are going to always make excuses for why you're bad or why you're this or why you're that, and I see it against all these other teams, not just Notre Dame, So, yeah, it's an excuse and it's stupid and, whatever.
Because let me just say this. Let's say the people who said that about Alabama possibly taking the brakes off and showing us mercy. All right, let's say they're right. Let's say that we were that outmatched and that was the case. Alabama would have done it.
Right. Well,
you're not going to stop. You're not going to show mercy to any team in the playoffs on the big stage.
Look at the rant that Mike Golick Jr. went on. I think it was Mike Golick. Yeah.
No, it was Junior. Yeah.
He was talking about with the Padres. I don't know if you remember, Padres were up. Gosh, it was like 9-0 or something like that. They have bases loaded. It's like a 3-0 count on their superstar, and he hit a grand slam. And people were like, he shouldn't have done that. He should have taken his foot off the gas. And people were all upset about how, they should have been more, whatever. And it's like, Golick said it. When you are capable of doing things like that, you do it. There is no mercy rule in these levels of sports. This is not like Little League where you get to 12 points and the game's over.
Well, hence the term professional. Or
college and pro, are one and the same when it comes to that. I mean, we've seen teams like Oklahoma and Alabama put up 70 points on an FCS school. I mean, it is what it is. So, no, I don't think Alabama let up. And it's like Dwayne said, we ended their 21-game streak of 35 points or more, most ever in college football, according to him. Okay.
Yeah.
Why would Alabama not want to make that 22 games and then go against Ohio State in the championship and go for 23 games? I mean, come on. That's absolutely stupid.
Well, yeah, I mean, because like I said, you put up points not just to give yourselves confidence, but to send a message like, "Hey, here we come. We're gonna throw everything we have at you." And believe me, if that was the case, and we were that down, if we were really that bad, then Alabama would have had no problem, completely stepping on our throats and putting up, 50 or 60 points. They would have done it. Yeah. But that's the thing. Nobody gives us enough credit that maybe our defense actually did make some adjustments, because they started making some plays in that second half.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let's turn this around on the 2 or 3 Alabama fans that we got in the comment section. Okay. So the big news also this week was Steve Sarkisian was hired by the University of Texas to be the next head coach at the University of Texas. Does Alabama's offense take a step back after losing Steve Sarkisian? Or could we see another big namer, possibly Adam Gase from the Jets, who was just let go, become the offensive coordinator in Alabama? Or Tuscaloosa, if you will.
Yep, these are their questions.
And Craig said Nick Saban does not show mercy, and I agree. I don't think Nick Saban shows mercy.
Yeah, no, he's not going to. Absolutely not.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. There's some programs that have let go of big namers. Will Muschamp is out in South Carolina. They have a new coach now. Well, yeah. So I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where if Will Muschamp takes another head coaching job or if he goes to a coordinator position. Like I said, there's talk that Adam Gase could be the new offensive coordinator for the Crimson Tide since he has ties to Nick Saban. There's talk that they could look elsewhere, so it'll be interesting. And like I said, the biggest interesting thing is Texas getting Steve Sarkisian. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Longhorns.
Yeah, and how long had Tom Herman been with the Longhorns? Like
only a few years. It hasn't been long because Charlie Strong was the coach there, and then they let him go, and now he's the coach at South Florida, I want to say. I think it's South Florida. Maybe he's somewhere else. I don't know.
Well, I think he came from Houston.
So it wasn't it wasn't long. He didn't stick around long.
Dwayne says, nope, Nick Saban is looking at proven NFL offensive coordinators. Has plenty of offensive talent to work with. No drop-off.
Yeah,
that is one man's thought.
3 or 4 years. I mean, I think some guys are just meant to be coordinators. I mean, I think Adam Gase was a way better coordinator than he was a head coach.
Well, he was with us. He was with us for a year in Chicago, which, by the way, I think the Bears are in trouble now because New Orleans just scored. And I'd say, yeah, at this point, if we lose this game, clean freaking house. This nobody on that offensive staff or on that offensive coaching staff knows what the hell they're doing, and neither does Chuck Pagano. Granted, we're without a couple of big name guys on defense today, but I don't know if it would have mattered. But anyway, that's beside the point. Adam Gase, he did a great job as offensive coordinator when he was with Chicago. I mean, they were scoring points like crazy, putting up yards. Did a great job with Jay Cutler. And I know a lot of people don't like him, but
I'm trying to think of who the other guy was. Oh, I can see him. I can see him in my head. He became a head coach for a while, and he was the offensive coordinator for the Patriots for a number of years. Oh, I can't think of his name, but anyway, he's one of those guys too that he was just a good coordinator. There are some guys that are just good, like Muschamp. Muschamp is a good defensive coordinator. He's not a good head coach. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with being a good coordinator. You go and join the Saban of the world, and you make his staff exponentially better, and you go win a championship with him. You're still part of that championship team. It's not like, you don't get credit for being there. I don't know a lot about Anthony Lynn, Craig. I don't know. So I couldn't give I'd have to do some research to see what he brings. But yeah, I don't know. I think the draft will definitely dictate with the Dolphins coordinator wise and stuff.
Yeah, Roy Boy's right too. Roquan Smith is a beast. Any team would miss him. Yeah, we're missing him right now.
Don't ever bring. I can't see.
Muschamp. Muschamp to Tuscaloosa. Don't like the guy.
Well, you need a defensive coordinator opening for him to come. So there's that. So he's not going to be an offensive coordinator. So you're going to have to worry about that, Dwayne.
Well, and in regards to this, the best comment or the best comparison that I could ever make, and I've said this a bunch of times already in videos, but look at the great Buddy Ryan, who was the defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears back in the 80s when they won the Super Bowl in the 85-86 season. Guy was a phenomenal defensive coordinator, but he takes a head coaching job with Philadelphia, and he didn't do so well in Philadelphia. But then here's what proves my point. He then takes the defensive coordinator position at with the Houston Oilers. And he put together one hell of a defense there. Granted, they had the biggest choke in NFL history when Frank Reich led the Bills on that big comeback against them in the playoffs. But still, he did an overall pretty good job with that Oilers defense. So it just goes to show that he was a much better coordinator than he was a head coach.
Yeah, and that's yes, Josh McDaniels. And I thought of it as soon as we kept rolling. I thought about it, but and I remembered it. But yeah, there, like I said, there are some guys that are they're just not head coach material. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know the recipe for all that, but it's evident. I mean, Josh McDaniels, like Craig brings up, and like I was trying to bring up and couldn't think of it. He was one of those guys too. He tried being a head coach and he just couldn't get it done. And then he went back to being a coordinator and he's a solid coordinator again. So I think, that just is what it is.
Roy Boy has a great question that I would love to answer this. He asks, I wonder who will be the Irish head coach after Kelly. And this might sound like a conspiracy theory, but I have some speculation here. So
I think I know.
Yeah, Ben and I already talked about this, but this is just pure speculation, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was the real deal. So obviously we just hired Marcus Freeman as our new defensive coordinator, and he's coming off a great season with Cincinnati, did his job well. And I'd have to do some more research on him to see what other stops he's had and look at his track record. But from what it sounds like, he's doing very well as a coach. And honestly, I let's just say this isn't the case, but I don't see Marcus Freeman being with us very long because I think eventually his name's going to come up for a head coaching position, somewhere. And this is a possibility. If he does a great job with us, a phenomenal job, and regardless of what happens with Kelly, because I think Kelly's with us through
2024.
2024. Okay. Let's say Kelly either finishes either one of two things. Either Kelly leaves for another job or he finishes out his contract. Because I really can't see Notre Dame firing him. Because I probably would have said three options. But who knows? Things happen. But I'll go with those two for now.
Yeah, I've heard Clark Lee kind of tossed around for the head coach at Notre Dame once Brian Kelly leaves. I don't know if Clark Lee was to become a head coach at Notre Dame, I would want to see what he does at Vanderbilt. I mean,
but as I was going to finish saying,
that would be the ultimate test right there. Like if you can actually get Vanderbilt to a position where they compete in the SEC, and I mean like legit compete, not like give Tennessee a run for their money, give South Carolina a run for their money. I mean like be a threat, be a legit threat. Then yeah, I'll give it to you. Come back to Notre Dame and be a head coach and let's go try to win a national title. But I want to see what happens first because the name's big. Sure, it's a big name and I'll give it to you. But like we said, you can be a great coordinator and not a great head coach. So
yeah, but the thing is, I think if that is the case, like let's say Brian Kelly finishes out his current contract or takes a job in the NFL or something, if it comes knocking. I could see Notre Dame in a way building Marcus Freeman up to be their next head coach if he sticks around long enough. It's a conspiracy theory. It's just a thought, but if he does well as defensive coordinator for us, I could see that going down.
I would, I want to get somebody that hasn't bounced, like it's kind of like we see these guys that bounce around, like even Steve Sarkisian, I think his situation's a little unique. Southern Cal did him no favors and should never have gotten rid of him, in my opinion. But, there are some guys that just bounce around. And it's like, well, why are you bouncing around? Are you just not complicit with what you got going on? Or is it they're kind of putting a lot of pressure that you're not willing to deal with? So
it could be a number of things.
I don't know.
But Craig says Brian Flores. Then him and Roy Boy both say Matt Campbell, excuse me. You can't rule him out because let's face it. Even though it's looking like Brian Kelly probably will finish out his contract, the days of even with as long as he would have been here at that time, still though the days of guys like Bobby Bowden and Joe Paterno being with one school for 20, 30, 40 years, those days are gone.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that anymore. You're not going to see a guy stick with one school that long.
Unless you can just be like Nick Saban and just be in the thick of things year in and year out. And that's very, 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 very hard to do. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Oh, but anyway, yeah. The Bears right now are running out of chances. And that was a nice stop there on Kamara. But yeah, I don't know what else to talk about.
I got nothing. So if you got nothing,
well, actually, real quick, Ben, how did we do with our? And we didn't discuss this on a video, people, but Ben and I made our picks for the opening round of the playoffs this year. How are you doing so far?
I'm doing okay. You're doing better than me, though. I'll give you that credit.
Okay, because see. Here's the thing. I was right on the Rams winning. I was right on Baltimore upsetting the Titans.
Yep.
So far, my pick in this game is not going well.
Yeah.
But
one where I could get kind of back into it because I picked the Saints to win this game. But
screw you too. No, I don't care. I don't care. I did also pick the Bucks, but I would have loved to have seen the Redskins. And yes, I'm still calling them the Redskins. I would have loved to have seen the Redskins win that game with what's his name, Heineke.
Yeah.
That would have, I mean, he played very well last night.
Yes.
Not bad for a kid I'm pretty sure that was his NFL debut game.
That was his NFL debut, and he played in the Alliance Football League.
So, yeah. He did pretty well.
Yeah.
He did really well.
Yeah, so you're beating me by 2 games right now. If the Bears if the Bears lose, you'll be beating me by 2 games. You're beating me currently by 3. And then if Cleveland can upset Pittsburgh, you'll beat me by 1 game.
Well, I picked Pittsburgh.
I know. That's what I'm saying. If Cleveland...
I thought you were saying that I picked Cleveland. I'm like, no, I didn't pick Cleveland.
No, I picked Cleveland.
Okay. Gotcha. I see what you're saying.
So if,
and then I think the one that I was wrong on was Seattle. Yeah. No, wait, I said that already, didn't I?
You said Rams. I said Seattle.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Rams played Seattle. Derp. So yeah, I just think I mean with our man Chase Claypool for the Steelers, how could you pick against your own guy? Because
I can't stand the Steelers, John. I just can't stand them. I like Claypool, believe me. I love Claypool. He's on my Dynasty League team. So dude, speaking of Claypool, and I'll say this, I have gotten so many trade offers for Claypool in my Dynasty League. Like, people want him so bad. People thought, I don't know, Ben, when I was hyping him up. And now everybody wants him. And I'm like, no, you motherfuckers. Well, you guys didn't want him. But I love it that time.
Well, okay, even in PG-13 movies, they can get away with a couple of F-bombs.
So anyway, yeah, so I'm like, I'm not trading him. And I finished very, very badly in the league this year. Last year, I was in the thick of things. This year, just an implosion. So I got the second pick in the draft. So I'm like, no, I'm like taking full advantage of this draft and all that. I'm not trading Claypool. He's part of my foundation that I'm building up again.
Well, in the league that we play in, we do what you call it?
You keep one or whatever.
No, we do a franchise mode where we keep the guys we have, and then we draft all the rookies.
Yeah, you keep them for like 5 years. Your team's like for 5 years or whatever it is.
Yeah. So far, my both my first 3 picks really paid off. With my first pick, and people were nuts for me, thought I was nuts for doing this, but in our draft last year, I think I had like the number 3 pick, and Joe Burrow was still on the board, but I actually picked Herbert from the Chargers.
Yep.
And that actually paid off pretty well.
Yeah.
Because I had a feeling that Tyrod Taylor wasn't going to last very long as the starter, and of course he got hurt. They bring in Herbert, and he tore it up with the Chargers. But and then my third pick, believe it or not, was Claypool.
Yeah.
Because he was there on my next pick, and I'm like, I think he's going to do phenomenal with the Steelers. I'm picking him up, and everybody thought I was nuts.
Yep.
But I didn't win at all in our league this year, but I finished like third because I lost in the semifinals.
Yeah.
The guy that I was playing just had a ridiculous amount of firepower. It was crazy. And speaking of firepower, Dwayne Roll Tide Roll has a comment. I think Alabama has too much firepower for Ohio State. What do you guys think? I think so.
I think either team could beat the other team. I'll say that. I think it depends on who shows up.
Yeah, and then Roy Boy says, unless Fields brings a copy of his performance against Clemson, which that's a very good point too, because Fields was phenomenal in that game, and if he's able to do that and against Alabama's defense, then this could be a fairly close game.
It could be a phenomenal game. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I wish both teams all the best. I hope for no injuries. Fields has kind of come into that one a little banged up after that Skalski hit. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So I think this is a good point to end our first weekly live stream episode. And we'll give you guys a minute because of delays and stuff. But if you guys have any more questions for us, feel free to ask them and we'll answer them. And if not, we'll just go off the air and call it a day. Or night, I should say. But yeah, things are not looking good for Chicago. Well, here's a good question. Well, actually, I should let somebody ask this, but it makes me wonder if the Bears are going to stick with Trubisky or if they're going to go draft a quarterback or sign somebody else. Maybe try for Deshaun Watson, like we were talking about earlier.
Hey, Watson's available.
Yeah, unless you want to give up the farm for him again,
right?
Because we haven't had a first round pick in 2 years. We need to hold on to that. So I don't think Watson would be a very good idea. But I will say this though: I hope to hell that Ted Phillips, who's the president of the Chicago Bears, if he's going to retire, I hope it's true. I've heard rumblings of it. It hasn't been officially announced, but I hope he retires because this franchise needs people in there that know what the hell they're doing because the McCaskies clearly don't.
Yeah, them and the Cubs, I don't know what the heck's going on in Chicago.
I don't know. Of course it's far off from baseball season yet, but I could definitely see this upcoming year being a rebuild for the Cubs.
Well, I'm not going to get into that. So, but yeah. We'll see what happens with all of it.
All right. Well, we don't see any questions here. So, guys, thank you all for showing up and watching us on this Sunday night. Aside from the two party poopers that showed up that are always have to start trouble, but I'll take care of them later. Of course, not on this channel, so don't get the wrong idea. So, with that said, guys, thank you all for showing up, and we hope we gave you a good show. And as always, God night. Or no, I screwed up our ending. With that said, I'm NB Sean 45.
I'm Irish Benjamin 57.
God bless, good night, and go Irish.
Go Irish.
Good night, everyone.